My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey folks, welcome back. Today our special guest is Wendell Butler, and he is zooming in from beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. And Wendell's got a very interesting background. These days, he's focusing a lot on fix and flips and doing new construction and development, but he's got a background in multifamily as well as a military background as well. So Wendell, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Dave. I'm excited to talk a little bit about real estate and just life and help out where I can.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's zoom out for a second. You're in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't think you're originally from there. You kind of this is a newer move for you. So let's take a look at what you're doing with real estate now and what brought you here in the first place. So what does your real estate business look like these days, Wendell?
Yeah. So currently, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Surprisingly, I can say that I'm a Charlotte native because I was born here. But I was
Okay.
born here and then left like pretty much right away and moved up into New England, the New England area with my family, as they moved me as a baby because I couldn't decide for myself as a baby. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, then I ended up moving back down here. But currently my business in real estate is mostly focused around fix and flipping and new development and land entitlement.
Okay.
Um, and the main point of that is in the Charlotte area, there's a large influx of people moving here. So there's a good amount of need for supply, which gives a lot of opportunity for fix and flipping, gives a lot of opportunity for new builds and new development, and then also land entitlement for people that are also trying to develop. If you can snag some land and make it entitled to then build on, you can sell it. And my main purpose of that is to build that portion of my business to the point that it's running systematically, and I have, a team of employees that I'm currently working on hiring to basically run that business for me, to then use that cash flow to then invest in other business endeavors and also still look into multifamily and long-term real estate investing, because I believe that's where wealth is built. And also the tax advantages are great as well. But just in the Charlotte area right now, it's very hard to find long-term cash flow properties.
Well, I think so because Charlotte has been such a sweetheart,
Yeah.
and North Carolina, South Carolina, it seems like a ton of syndicators and apartment building guys kind of all converged on those markets in short order. So I imagine there's tons of competition.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of competition, and for what I look for, because I'm young in the real estate game still, so I'm looking for more value add type acquisitions,
Mhm.
where I can add value and force equity by either increasing the rent or stabilizing properties by renovating them and et cetera. And there's just not a lot of entry points for multifamily down here that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of like new development apartment complexes around here that if you're okay with like a 3% or 4% return, it can work. But I'm just not at that point yet, to the point that I can get those returns and be happy with it and then take
Mhm. Yeah.
advantage of the tax advantages. I'm trying to, roll as much as much capital as possible to build my business to the point that I can then focus on more of those acquisitions. But yeah, it's definitely difficult right now. And that was a change.
So what were you doing before? You were in the multifamily space. What market were you focused on before, and why did you decide to move back home to Charlotte?
Yeah, so I lived in New England most of my life, which is basically in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. I was investing while I was up there in multifamilies because in I lived in Worcester, Massachusetts, when I first started real estate investing. In Worcester, Massachusetts is probably the multifamily capital of the United States. Every single building there is a multifamily. Is duplexes, triplexes, four family, five family, six family, eight family. Every single building is almost a multifamily. So it really works well there because the rents are very high. They're in Massachusetts. Um, and the rents almost support, you know, purchasing those multifamilies, even with the big burst of like COVID and price increases, the rents pretty
Yeah.
much followed pretty quick. Because New England as a whole, it kind of it's been around so long, I feel like, that it has a set history and set like, you know, real estate market that pretty much works really well as it is with multifamilies, compared to like Charlotte and other newer type of areas that are still developing or trying to find, you know, where the rent will be or where the market is. And that's
So
why.
when you were doing the multifamilies in New England, were you kind of flipping those or were you holding on to them long term?
So it was more bird type strategy. So it was a lot
Mhm.
of purchasing, renovating, increasing the rents, and then refinancing out of it, then holding on to them long term,
Yeah.
and also doing house hacks on the side as I moved from like property to property and living in one unit, renting out the others.
Yeah.
That's predominantly one of the better ways to invest there because you can build equity pretty fast and then you can cash flow pretty well with the rents that go on there.
Cool.
So it was a big change because I moved from there, which was mostly multifamily. There wasn't much flipping because flipping's so expensive there. Like buying a single family home, it's like your entry point
Yeah,
is like
there aren't yeah, there aren't that
500,000,
many of them.
600,000. So it's
Yeah.
pretty tight. And then moving to Charlotte, it's the complete opposite. It's like multifamily doesn't work, but fix and flipping works fantastically. And you can get in for very low prices, sometimes even as low as like 100 grand or 80 grand. Um, and you can turn them pretty fast because they're great, brick ranch buildings built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, grandma clean for the most part, and you just really cosmetically update them and can flip them pretty
Yeah.
well.
Cool. So are you just getting started with the flipping business or have you done some?
So we've exited around seven. I've only been doing it uh, for about 7 months now since we've kind of changed our total business plan into that model. So
Yeah.
we've exited around seven. We have about six going on right now, and we're trying to get to the point that we do 30 to 50 a year consistently. Um, so we're hoping to hit that stride pretty soon, but it's going pretty good for sure. It's going.
Good. Well, that's great. So to get to that 30 a year, what are you going to need as far as crews or outsourcing or contractors? What does that kind of look like? Do you keep everything in-house or do you sub everything out or what are your thoughts around that, Wendell?
Yeah, so I'm a big, I like to spend money where it brings me value. So I'm okay with paying more money for systemizing my business to the point of like using third party businesses to help run my business, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people want to vertically integrate like a general contractor business within their business. I don't because I just don't like doing that stuff. It's heavy to
Yeah.
me and it turns into instead of me running a business or having a business more, dealing with subcontractors and stuff like that. So what I do is I try to just make very good relationships with general contractors that I trust. I give them a lot of freedom, but I really give them a scope of work that they understand, and they start understanding exactly how I like to do my flips. And then we work together on figuring out like the budget of the flips. And that way it allows me to make fast, quick offers, knowing exactly what their price points are for rehab. And then myself, I just focus on deal finding, and that's by networking, direct marketing, and also working with a lot of wholesalers. So wholesalers are great if they know what they're doing, and if
Hmm.
they're susceptible to being taught. So I try to teach as many wholesalers as I can how to actually, you know, underwrite a property and look at it correctly to one, help them, but also help me if they want to help buy. And that's kind of how I look at it. So I like to build my business to the point that I'm really just making the high level decisions of yes or no to the properties. And then I have people within my business, even if they're not like employees, like general contractors or attorneys and stuff like that, they just understand my system and I can kind of just pass off the scope of work and what I want done in the budget. And it gets done with not much follow up. just good communication between everybody.
What do you find is working best for you besides word of mouth and wholesalers for generating leads for your flip business?
So, there's a lot of technology nowadays, so people love using like, texting or AI cold calling or um, even like pay per click on social media and things like that. But to be honest, I think one of the best ways and always will be the best ways is direct mailers. So being consistent, being personable, and being uh, smart with like your list building for direct mailers, I think is one of the best ways to direct market and get leads coming in that aren't from word of mouth or wholesalers or things like that. And the reason behind it is if you send someone a text, uh, people are very like nowadays. People are just very everybody has like ADD, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like they just like look at a text and they'll be like, I don't care, whatever, on to the next. Or like email, they just click through emails. But when someone actually gets a piece of mail that is catered to them personally and more personal, and it's like actually handwritten and it actually gives some like, you know, cool, I got mail and it's like looks cool and things like that, they're gonna tend to spend time usually to open it and read it. And that extra couple seconds of just them holding something, looking at it, I think is just so much more important than like using technology to the point because it's a lot more of relationship building, and I think that's how you win in real estate is by building relationships. And sure, they might not call you on the first direct mail, right? But if you set up a system that you hit them maybe 3 to 4 times within the time span of 3 months, when it is time, or if they do want to sell, I guarantee that they're going to reach out to you over, someone that's texting, someone that's AI cold calling, someone that's blasting emails all day because they're going to remember that you're taking the time to actually mail them stuff. And especially if it's creative and cool and personable, like that's going to make them kind of remember you. And then it just
So,
starts a
so what
relationship on
does
the right
creative,
foot.
cool, and personal look like to you? Give us an example of what that might look
Yeah,
like.
yeah. So I use Ballpoint Marketing, which is a direct mailer that focuses mainly on those exact things like building relationships and making it more personable. So I use one called like it's called this is just a total plug for Ballpoint Marketing, but I use one called the Lazy Investor, which first it starts off with a handwritten postcard that's in like an envelope that looks like an invitation to something, right? So it's like, oh, cool, what is this? And it's handwritten. It's not handwritten by me. Machines do it, but they
Yeah.
take, normal
It
handwriting.
looks
So
handwritten.
it looks handwritten,
It looks
right?
handwritten. Yeah.
So they open that, and that's obviously handwritten. So they're like, oh, this person take the time to do this. Cool. They probably throw it out right away, right? Most people are just like, oh, cool, do it, throw it out. The
Yeah.
next one that comes is a postcard that's like, has like a race car on it, and it makes a little joke, like, I don't know what the joke is, but it's probably like a dad joke type thing, and it's kind of
Okay.
like it's like funny,
I'd
but
probably
then
appreciate it. Yeah.
yeah, I think like people appreciate it. So they get that and they're like, "Oh, this is cool." And then they see that it's like me again and they're like, "Oh, okay. He sent me
That guy
something
from
else
last
new."
month. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next one again is another postcard. That's a different type of vibe. And that's how you kind of like touch them multiple times with different like different spontaneous, personable cards, which to my experience makes them reach out to you a lot more than other direct mails. Like some people send like a blank check and it just like, hey, we'll pay this much for your house, which I believe that sets up the whole conversation on the wrong foot because most of the time the price that's on that check, you're not going to pay that for the house. It's just
Yeah.
a random price. So you're starting the conversation with price, which I never do. I always start with
Plus,
what's
you're probably starting with a BS price that you're not going to pay him anyhow. So, kind of
exactly. So you're
puts a bad
you're
taste in
you're
your mouth.
you're backpedaling immediately right when you're talking to them, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's better to build that relationship more personable, which might be a little bit more expensive for direct mailers, but I think the returns and the callbacks are much higher to the point that it's way worth it. And then they remember you not based on price, they remember you based on, you know, being a little bit more of a person, right? And
Yeah.
then you can start the conversation with instead of price, you start it with oh, like, did you like my cards? Blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, I think they're really cool. And then you just start asking, oh, like, why are you calling me? Like, you looking to sell your house? Like, why are you trying to sell your house? And you start trying to solve their problem. You never want to start with price. And I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest factor of utilizing direct mailing the right way. That's kind of like how I look at it, I guess.
So what kind of volume are you looking at as far on average per month? How many letters or postcards are you typically sending out?
Yeah, so you want to start, you don't want to start with a ton of mailers. One, because they're expensive, but
Hmm.
two, you want to have very quick, what's the word that I'm thinking of? Not recall, but like you learned from basically if you learn that your list is working or not pretty fast, right?
Right, right. Feedback, basically.
Feedback loop, that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
of. So a quick feedback loop because they're expensive. So like say you send out 3,000 mailers, they're about like $2 each, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's $6,000. And you want to do it for at least 3 months. You want to, send at least three mailers out over the span of 3 months. So that's going to be like $18,000 to these 3,000 people. But um, you want to first of all send them out multiple times to those people because one postcard isn't going to do it. So you
Yeah.
have to just
So
understand
you're
that.
you're focusing on a cohort of like 1,000 or 2,000 leads
Yeah,
that you want to hit multiple times over 3 months. And are you typically focusing on that one group, that one cohort for 3 months, and then finding a new list and starting over again? Is that kind of how that works?
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like if you start with the first, let's just say 3,000. 3,000 is a good number, right?
Okay.
And you pull your list to make sure that it's actually good, the best leads you could possibly find based on the data.
Yeah.
So you want like homes that have high equity. You don't want homes with like large loans because you can't make a good offer because they don't have a lot of wiggle room based on their loan. Usually I like to target people that are a little bit older that are looking to possibly move or sell to
Oh, so
either
you're
like
not you're not going after desperate home sellers that are going to lose the house to the bank kind of thing day after tomorrow necessarily.
I'll add them in,
Okay.
but
All right. Yeah.
I do add in, other aspects as well to get that list to
Yeah,
3,000. And
3,000. Got it.
then I'll tone it down or narrow it even more to make sure that it's not like a 10,000 list. I make it as niche as possible to start with. And then you can kind of figure out from there which ones work, who calls back more, and then you look at your KPIs of your business, and then you could start moving your next list more towards who calls back the most, right? And then it's kind
Got
of
it.
like feedback loop of seeing who's calling back more, where your dollar is best spent for return of investment, and then you start allocating the money towards those individuals more, if that makes
So
sense.
now that you're like 7 months into this process, Wendell, um, what have you kind of found for numbers? If you got that batch of 3,000 people that you're marketing to, first month, you're probably not getting a ton of calls, but what are you hoping for as far as callbacks go, month one, month two, month three, and when the smoke clears and things work quasi according to plan, how many deals are you hoping will come out of that batch of 3,000 leads?
Yeah, so I call it like it's like the 10%, it's the 1% of 10% rule in a
Okay.
way. So every single time you mail something out, you want to expect probably 10% of people will maybe reach back out. And of those 10%, 1% will probably be actual deals that you can close.
So out of
Um,
3,000, you're over the course of 3 months, your your goal is to get about 300 calls. Is that back? 300 callbacks?
each month. So like
Oh,
every
each
time you
month.
send one out, you want like 300 calls. And then of those
Wow.
300, you want uh
If you're
about
getting if you're getting 10% response rate on direct mail, that is phenomenal because the industry standard back in the day when direct mail was a real thing was like less than 1% kind of thing. So,
yeah, it's like yeah, I think it's I might be doing the numbers wrong to be honest, but basically, yeah, it's like you send out 3,000 mailers, you're probably gonna get like 300 callbacks. Maybe, oh yeah, yeah, sorry, I messed that up. Yeah. So 3,000 mailers over those 3 months, you're probably gonna get 300 callbacks, right? And then
okay.
of those 300 callbacks, you probably will close, you know, 1 to 3% of those deals. So that's about what, 9 to 10. So 10-ish deals of those 3,000 mailers, which people will say like, is that even worth it? And it's
Of
like,
course, that's no, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're able to do those kind of numbers on 3,000 mailers, even mailing them 3 times, that's a home run, buddy. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because you
Yeah.
you got to think like each deal, so each fix and flip, you probably want to profit around like 30 to 40 grand, right?
Yeah.
It's
Cost
what
you
we
18
usually
grand
aim
to
for. And
cut.
if you're paying 18 grand and you get, 9 deals from it, like that's an absolute home run. And I'm gonna say that's like best case scenario. That's like when you start getting the list like really dialed in to the point
Yeah.
that you know exactly who's gonna call back, and you never know who's exactly going to call back, but your KPIs are set up to the point that you're really toning in on it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you probably won't expect that much callback because you're trying to fine tune it. Um, so I would say probably in the beginning, if you can even get after 3 months of sending out mailers, if you can get 1 to 2 deals,
You're doing
that's
great. Yeah.
fantastic,
Yeah.
you know, because you can only go up from there. Especially as you fine tune your list and start narrowing it and niching it more, and then changing zip codes and figuring out which zip code's the best within your area too. Um, but the problem people have with direct mail is that they do such a wide bird shot right off the bat, and then they don't take the feedback loop in and adjust. They just keep
Yeah.
sending those wide bird shots to just new people every time, and they're like, "Why isn't this working?"
Yeah. They don't do the
Oh,
repetition. They don't do any of that stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
For
it's all
sure.
about being on top of mind of people. So you want to catch them at the right point when they're at their house and they're like, "Oh man, I need to sell this house." You want your direct mailer to come in right at that point, and then they'll be like, "Oh, perfect timing," and then they give you a call, right?
Yeah.
So you can't time everything nice, but the best way you can time it is to be consistent and keep sending them, and just follow the process and believe in the process.
Yeah. Wise
Delayed
words.
gratification.
Wise words, Wendell. So we got to wrap things up here, my friend. So if people want to connect with you and find out more, where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always reach out to me. I'll just give you my website, hhcapitalrealty.com. So that's Hammerhead Capital's website, which is my holding company for my real estate business. On there, you can find how to contact me, my email. You could find my social media. You can also find updates on projects we got currently going on and stuff like that. And yeah, reach out to me anytime. I always like to partner with people, like to have people invest with me. Um, so open to any opportunities, and yeah, looking forward to hearing from anybody that reaches out.
Awesome. Wendell, thanks so much for being on the show. There's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy talking shop and talking about marketing stuff. So congratulations on what you're doing. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Dave, and I appreciate you having me on.
All right, everybody, take care. See you on the next one. Hey there. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.